Thanks again for tuning in to Building Wealth. Today, we're going to talk about building credit and controlling debt. Obviously, debt is part of many people's financial situation, especially when we're young and starting to build a life around a mortgage and getting married and having kids with student loans possibly. So, debt is an important thing that we need to talk about. Credit history is important. It's difficult to pay cash for your car, home, and college education, so typically we use credit. That's why it's important to have a plan to build and maintain a good credit history. Good credit saves money, bad credit costs money. Think of credit as a tool to be used wisely. Employers, landlords, and insurance companies may use your credit history to determine whether you are a good risk. A good credit history will result in getting the lowest interest rates for loans and other services, which will put you in better position to increase your savings and also your wealth. In the first module, we talked about assets and liabilities and what net worth is. I'm not going to touch on that much deeper than that. Liabilities are things you owe people. Assets are things you own. Your assets minus liabilities equals your net worth. Now, one thing that we have to take into consideration is when we take out credit, those interest rates and that interest costs us money. So that is also something that we need to talk about as far as when we take out those liabilities. It's really important to know what's on your credit report. And if you haven't ever ordered one, certainly you can get a free copy from 3 major credit reporting companies, and they are listed here. In that credit report, if you have any past credit, typically people over age 18 have past credit. It will show you those credits that are open still, those that you closed, if you've been on time with your payments, if you've been delinquent with your payments. And, it's good to order those things because you can see if there's any credit cards or any credit open that you didn't open. And maybe there's an old credit card that you opened 20 years ago that you haven't used. You can see that on your credit report and then determine whether or not you want to continue to have that open credit. Like I mentioned, a credit report includes late payments, delinquents, or defaults that will result in a lower credit score and could cause you to have a high interest rate or be declined altogether. The most important factor in your credit score is the payment history. This history shows whether payments were made on time or late. Recent delinquent payments are more damaging compared with late payments from many years past. Also, the severity of the delinquency is a factor. For example, a payment made 30 days late has less impact on your credit score than a payment made 60 days late. Another major factor in your credit score is the amount of owed credits. I recommend a guideline to keep your balance at least half of your total credit available in the credit line. That's the utilization rate. Factors not considered in a credit score include age, race, or ethnicity, income, job, marital status, education, length of time at your current address, and whether you own or rent your home. So again, take some time, order your credit reports from any one of those agencies and do it on a regular basis. So tips for building good credit. We already talked about this, developing a budget and sticking to it. Getting a new credit card does not mean you have more income. Saving money so you're prepared for a rainy day. 3 to 6 months of living expenses are recommended. That helps you stay out of credit card issues and credit card debt. If you don't have to put those things on your credit card, it helps you stay in better standing. Pay your bills on time, okay? Keep your credit card balances low or aim to pay them off monthly. Again, the rainy day fund helps with that. Check your credit reports annually and dispute any incorrect information. Say if something's on there doesn't look right, call the company. Those phone numbers are on your credit report typically, and find out what's going on there. So let's talk about taking on debt. A big part of building wealth is making wise choices about credit and debt. Keep in mind your bottom line, your net worth, when making decisions about credit. Remember, assets minus liabilities equals net worth. So when you take on additional debt, you are reducing your net worth. Ask yourself, am I building wealth and increasing my net worth, or am I building debt and reducing my net worth? My economics professor in college always said, never mismatch your assets and your liabilities. Let me explain. If you are consuming something, okay, so food, vacation, whatever that might be, if I'm consuming that, I want my debt to match how long that I own that thing or I consume that thing. So I don't want to put groceries and vacations on a credit card that I can't pay off. Okay. Because ultimately that's not an asset and I can't sell that asset to pay off that debt. All right. So I'm also not going to try to pay off my house, which is a 30-year asset, in a 5-year time horizon, or even a monthly time horizon, or a 1-month time horizon. I'm going to match my liability to that asset. Now, obviously, you have to make good decisions about that and find the right loan for you. But it would be very hard to buy a $200,000 home and try to pay it off over 5 years, right? Unless my income is high enough to do that, I would want to, tie that asset to a longer term liability. Now, let's talk a little bit about that TV sale. Remember Sonia, she gave up the extras. When she had enough money in her savings account, she bought a new TV for $1,500 and she paid cash. Her friend Vince is an impulsive spender. He seeks immediate gratification using his credit cards, not realizing how much extra it costs. Vince bought the same TV for $1,500 a month, but financed it on store credit card with an annual interest rate of 22%. And that's not uncommon. 22% is pretty common for a credit card. At $50 a month, it took him almost 4 years to pay off the balance. While Sonia paid only $1,500 for the new TV, Vince paid $2,200. The cost of the TV plus the interest, Vince not only paid an extra $700, he lost the opportunity to invest that $700 to build his wealth. It doesn't just cost you the price of that particular item. It also the increase in costs if you're using credit to pay for that item. How do we take steps to control our debt? To manage debt, you need to know how much you have and develop strategies to control it. When Vince decided to reduce his credit card debt, he analyzed his debt, developed a strategy, and took action. How he did that, he listed the balance, interest rate, and monthly interest on each card. So he inventoried it. Okay. He checked his credit score and shopped for the best rate on a new card. Then he transferred his balances to that card. He cut up the old cards using the interest he saved to pay down his principal balance sooner. His plan of attack was to pay a little extra so that he was able to do that. So if you have some credit cards or if you have debt, take some time here to inventory that debt, what the interest rate is, how much it is, and that way you can see it in one place and put a plan together for reducing that debt. On the right-hand side, just put down some strategies that you might have. You might pay down that lowest account balance first, or you might pay down the highest interest rate first. Whichever makes the most sense to you, that might be your plan of attack. That might even be your plan of attack before you save any extra money, especially if your interest rates are very high. It doesn't make a lot of sense to save extra money in a 5% CD if you're paying 22% on a credit card. Now let's talk about saving money by choosing the right loan. If you have good credit, you may want to take out a loan to purchase a car or house or to cover educational expenses. All are investments in the future. But regardless of how the money is spent, a loan is a liability and it decreases your wealth. So choose loans carefully. Shop and negotiate for the lowest interest rate. The interest you save may be invested to build wealth. Take a look at the table on the left. It may be obvious which lender will charge the lowest interest. What's not obvious is that your credit score may determine which interest rate you are offered. Okay, again, look at your credit score and before you plan to apply for a loan. Looking at this table on the left-hand side, that $15,000 car loan, if I'm paying a 6.5% rate, cost me another $2,609. So that car cost me $17,600. Lenders need to disclose this to you, and it should be any loan documents that you sign. So make sure you take a look at what that overall cost of the vehicle is. Joe's Auto Sales, if he's charging you 15%, that car cost you $21,410 instead of just the $15,000. Make sure you shop that around. Make sure you understand that the car isn't just $15,000. The second piece is a $15,000 car loan all at a 6.5% interest rate. And that is the duration of your loan, a 3-year, a 4-year, or a 5-year. Okay. Now, you might just look at the payment and say, yeah, I can afford that payment. It's $293 a month. That's all you look at. But what you need to also consider is that total car loan costs you another $2,610 at 6.5%. Where if you take a 3-year loan, it costs you another $1,550. Although the payment is higher, because the loan is shorter, at that same 6.5% interest rate, the cost of the car is less. So the numbers don't lie. Make sure you are educated and know what that total cost is. Beware of high cost credit. People can get into deep debt when they take out a loan against their paycheck or car title. These loans generally come with very high double-digit interest rates. For example, borrowers may write a post-dated check in exchange for money. When they get paid again, they repay the loan. It's called a payday loan. Borrowers who can't repay the loan are charged additional fees for an extension, which puts them into even deeper debt. Borrowers may continue to pay fees to extend the loan's due date infinitely, only to find they are getting deeper in debt because of its steep interest rate payments and fees. If you're taking out payday loans, you really need to sit down and look at your budget. If you cannot pay for some of those things that you're consuming with your paycheck, a deep dive into your budget and some self-evaluation would be very important, because it's unlikely those costs are going away the next month or the next month or the next month. And they continue to snowball until you're so deep in debt that you don't know where to turn. So if you're taking out payday loans, or if you're carrying over credit card balance on a month-to-month basis, you need to do an evaluation of where you're spending your money and try to cut some of those costs on things that are not necessary. Obviously, we all have basic needs, but if those basic needs are costing you more money because of credit card or payday loan debt, you need to evaluate what basic needs are, versus what basic wants are, because not everything is a basic need. Food, clothing, shelter, we all need that. The extra stuff, cable bill, internet bill, phones, computers, high-end clothing, those type of things are not basic needs. Tips for borrowing. Don't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. Never respond to a solicitation that makes borrowing sound easy and cheap. Always read the fine print on any loan application. Seek assistance from family members, local nonprofit, credit counseling services, and others to make sure the loan is right for you. If you find yourself struggling to pay your debt, there are credit counselors out there that will help you, and nonprofits, especially, that don't even necessarily charge for that credit counseling. There are some that charge you to counsel your credit. Always look at those with a deeper and more focused lens, because they might not have your best interest in line. They might just be looking to consolidate your debt and make money off of you. Identity theft is a very hot button topic. So make sure that you're doing your due diligence to guard your identity. Okay. You want to make sure that you keep your financial records and keep them secure. You don't want to share your social security number with anybody that calls on the phone, right? Your account numbers, all those different things. If somebody's calling you, soliciting, do not share any personal information with them. And then checking your credit score from time to time to make sure that there's nobody opening up credit in your name that you're not aware of. So when you're looking at that credit score, if there's a credit card open or any credit open that you just don't remember, then you need to investigate that further and find out what that is, where that is, and if it's actually yours, or if somebody is fraudulently opening that credit card. Some other tips: shred or destroy your bank and credit card statements and all other private records before tossing them in the trash. Only give out your social security number when absolutely necessary. Never carry both your social security card and your driver's license in your wallet. Pick up any mail promptly from your mailbox. Don't leave outgoing mail with unpaid bills in an unsecured mailbox. Don't give out personal information on the phone, through the mail, or on the internet unless you are sure you know who you're dealing with. Just because people say they tell you who they are on the internet or through email does not mean that's actually who they are. Internet scams are a very hot topic right now. Please, please, please do your due diligence whenever dealing with anybody through email or people saying that they just can't be contacted by phone. Typically, that's a scammer looking to gather as much information as they can from you, and in some cases, even money or bank account numbers. Do not send any of your personal information over email, even if it's to somebody that you know. Pick up the phone, call them, and particularly our office. Do not send any personal information over email. Just pick up the phone and call us. If we need that information, then we can get that from you over the phone. Thanks for watching this video about building credit and controlling your debt. Hopefully you learned at least one thing that can help you. Feel free to watch any of the modules that we have about building wealth. There are 5 different modules, and hopefully they help you build your wealth and all the things that go along with that.